you and I had both been Sanders supporters.
Yeah.
And now to see that same guy going after Bobby Kennedy.
There are the three big hearings that we're waiting on the votes which are Bobby Kennedy, obviously, and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel over at FBI, Tulsi at DNI. But Bret Weinstein was on Rogan yesterday discussing how ridiculous these hearings have become, largely because of the Democrats, which again, he was just like Bobby, about a year or two ago.
I don't know about you, but as I was watching confirmation hearings, my sense was that the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernie Sanders were dinosaurs who do not understand that the Earth has just been hit from outer space and that they don't live in the world that they are so used to. That their corruption was immediately apparent. And they're not used to that. They're used to having a whole phony journalistic layer that covers for them.
Right.
And that layer is gone, and the American public is awake, and it's angry, and rightfully so. And now it looks at Bernie Sanders, who, I remember the first time you and I spoke, you and I had both been Sanders supporters.
Yeah.
And now to see that same guy going after Bobby Kennedy, and, the feeble excuse, well, what if Bobby Kennedy becomes the head of HHS and people don't have access to prescription drugs? And it's like, dude, I just lived through COVID. It's not obvious to me that they wouldn't get healthier if they didn't have access to prescription drugs. Do you realize how corrupt those companies are and how nonsensical their science is, the science that says that you actually get better if you take a statin based on some metric in your chart, right? So I'm not arguing that there aren't good pharmaceuticals. There undoubtedly are. But what's the net effect of our pharmaceutical-obsessed medical culture? It's not obvious to me that it's positive. I think it may well be negative. And so anyway, again, I see Bernie Sanders and I see him reading from a script that is no longer relevant to the movie we're watching.
I mean, guys, that clip really, I think, ties this show together perfectly because, again, you've got Rogan and Bret, who were Bernie supporters a couple of years ago. You got Bobby, who ran as a Democrat only a year ago. You got Tulsi, who was a presidential candidate for the Democrats 4 years ago. And now what you have left are people that were supposed to be fighting the system, these brave, Democrat socialists like Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, sinking in the La Brea tar pits like dinosaurs. I like that metaphor. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, first of all, I love the cigar smoke coming in during the course of that.
I'm not sure that was a cigar. Was that a cigar? That might have been pretty sure that's a blunt.
I'm going to be outside lighting one up here and after we finish. But look, the point being is what you had referenced earlier. Look, and Walter talked about the population is angry. They're starting to have an opportunity to look behind the curtain. They're seeing how bad it is. If you want to understand Capitol Hill, and the reason why we don't have term limits, just Google the net wealth of any long-term politician when they started and then what their net wealth is now, right? And look at that and then just, step back and try to imagine, how that plays out. So I loved it. I loved the hearings in particular with Bobby Kennedy. I loved him talking about, look at how much money some of these individuals who were lambasting him took from pharmaceuticals. So I don't know that all three of them will get through the confirmation process. I think the Democrats are going to hold out for at least one. But honestly, I don't know that I could put money on which one it will be. So it's going to be fascinating. I think it's another example of what we referenced earlier also, which is they just can't seem to read the room, the Democrats, I mean.
Yeah, I think that's the right phrase. Walter, bring us home here.
Well, I was at the first Kennedy hearing.
Oh, right.
With the Finance Committee. I was sitting about 10 feet away from Kennedy himself. And I can tell you as a fact, Bernie didn't look at him, didn't listen to one word, was absolutely not present except for his own little tirade, which he spun up from nothing, like an actor does a line reading for the camera. I hate to tell people about this because their parasocial relationship with Bernie particularly is extremely resilient. But the dude is an actor, okay? He's been playing a part. He's playing Bernie, the red diaper socialist. That is what he's doing. And in general, the Democratic side of that horseshoe of characters, those senators, looked like a law firm that had been assembled out of various affirmative action rules. You know, here's this senator who represents that. Here's that senator that represents that. And they were all performers. It was like the Monkees. They want a Beatle-like band, so they cast the Monkees out of Hollywood. That group of people are cast members in a masquerade. And I hate to tell you that, but it's not that they changed. They've always been the same. They do what they have to do, and their instructors tell them, and none of them cared a damn about what Bobby said. They didn't listen.
Well, I'm going to do my Bernie Sanders impression to end the program today.